Ba-dum, dun, 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 dun.
We made this.
We are the Right in the Childhood podcast. Hear us roar.
Rawr.
Rawr.
Wow.
That plus a cold open should give you a very big clue to what we're doing this
Also
time
the
round.
title
Also
of
the title of the thing is another. But if you don't look, you just listen. Well, there you go. And if you didn't look at all at anything, and this is the first time you're listening to this podcast, hello, this is the Right in the Childhood podcast on the We Made This network. I'm Fraser, and the other voice is not me, it's Mark.
Hello.
And on the Right in the Childhood podcast, we've got two different childhoods in terms of like where we grew up and all this sort of stuff, and as different as two friends can have a childhood. But also in generations, I'm on the Gen Z Millennial side, you're on the Gen X Millennial side. So there is a bit of crossover, but we've not really seen it in the podcast that much.
We both kind of behave like millennials, but technically neither of us are.
But we also have, I feel like, well, I don't want to throw you under the bus here. I feel like we also have elements from our other generations. Like, I feel like I have more Gen Z stuff than Millennial. But then I feel like you have more Millennial than Gen X, because Millennial for you is on the latter end of your childhood, and Gen Z for me. So, yeah, we're spanning across three generations. And what we do is we revisit childhood classics from those three generations, basically. Yeah, it's amazing. But for one person, a lot of the time, it's, you know, a nostalgia trip. We've got the goggles on, and for the other person...
tinted ones.
Yeah, and for the other person, it's the first time they've seen it. But we do have some exceptions. We have done specials like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is span across generations. We've done stuff where you've heard of it, perhaps, or like something where
We've never done stuff of mine where you've heard of it, though.
Yeah, we have. Boy Meets World.
Oh, okay.
I heard of that. I'm like, just missed that. This one is this time around, it's a very good example of something that sort of, it dipped its toe in your generation, but then fully submerged my generation.
Absolutely right, because we are doing Rugrats.
We're doing Rugrats, and this is a Reptar size special, because it's absolutely mahoosive.
Yeah.
Reptar, for those who don't know Rugrats, is a giant...
Godzilla ripoff.
Godzilla, yeah, well, I was going to try and give him like a... But yeah, fine, we'll go with Godzilla ripoff. But he's... yeah, he's huge.
He is.
And that's, you know, why we're saying Reptar size special. Rugrats is about these babies, and it's so weird of a concept. It's a Nickelodeon show, but it's just these babies doing their day-to-day thing, and obviously they look up to Reptar as a TV show. There are older children as well. There's Angelica and there's Susie Carmichael as well. So they're sort of the cast of characters you meet. But should we talk... This is interesting, because...
Should we tell people why we're doing what we're calling a Reptar special?
Yeah, so basically, Mark, you have experience with this...
Just a little bit.
A little bit from the TV show, but not like... The TV show ran for like seasons and seasons and seasons and seasons and years and years and years. And you got the early stage of it, but very similar to like Boy Meets World, you didn't carry on with it.
Yeah.
Whereas I got the reruns, I got the movies, I got the video games. I ended up working with Rugrats in a way. Not as much as I wanted to.
You watched the sequel too.
I watched the sequel as well, All Grown Up as well. So there's a lot of Rugrats content out there. And I was like, we usually like to do stuff that the other person hasn't seen. And I was like, this provides a unique opportunity where I could show you all the stuff from Rugrats that you missed. Because we were just going to do All Grown Up. But then I was like, I have memories of that, but my memories of Rugrats are much more... like diverse and varied, because there's just so much of Rugrats out there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Rugrats, I could have put it on, not as a huge priority one. It was definitely something I watched. I watched it with my brother, and we caught probably the first two series before we were a bit too old for it, really. And I could have put it on, but it wasn't something I was desperate to put on. But eventually I think I would have probably put it on. And when you said that you'd watch Rugrats, I was like, there's something we can do here, because it's one that we've both definitely watched.
Definitely, and it's a very good one, because you talk about your experience, like, I should put Rugrats on the list. I was like, oh yeah, Rugrats. I never doubted that Rugrats was going to be on my list. But the more and more we delved into this, like, Reptar, especially the more and more I was like, yeah, this took over my, like, this is a huge part of my childhood. Because, like I say, we're going to cover everything we just talked about. So we're going to do we're going to do like a video game review. We're going to do a movie review. We're going to do two TV show reviews. Like, what we're going to do is, just to set the format, is we're going to do the best episode of Rugrats, which is one I think you haven't seen. There's a lot that, looked at IMDb, there's a lot that got the same rating, and there's one I'm choosing from season 4. We're then going to watch the pilot of All Grown Up. Just the pilot, just because,
Sure.
It'd be an introduction for
you.
you.
That makes sense.
You like your pilots. Now, there was 2 movies. There was the Rugrats movie, and there was Rugrats in Paris. I have more of a fond memory of Rugrats in Paris.
Sure.
So I think we're going to go for that one. But I will say, also, I have seen Rugrats the movie very, very, very recently. It still holds up. It's on Netflix. That's why I watched it. And it'd be good to watch, I think, Rugrats in Paris, to sort of be like, okay, I haven't watched this recently, let's see how it is. Now, I have 2 of the Rugrats video games. I've got Rugrats Search for Reptar. We've also got Rugrats Angelica World, which is this...
Explain both of them, because is one a platformer and the other one a fashion game?
So Search for Reptar has got various different levels, and it's like got different stories as well. And I think some of the stories ended up on the show, and some are inspired from the show. One of the levels I remember a lot was Chucky getting chased by geese, and it was terrifying because all you heard was that and poor Chucky was having to run. I felt for Chucky.
That's cool though, that it kind of...
There's a Reptar level as well. There's all these different
so it's like mini games rather than a specific...
Well, yeah, it's like a collection of mini games, but like in a story. And Angelica's World, I'm unsure on whether this or Spider-Man Friend or Foe was the first video game I ever completed. So it's one of them too. But this is, you're in a mall that's run by Angelica, and you go into the different shops, and then you play a mini game.
Oh.
And then once you've played so many mini games, you move up a level onto a different mall level. And then once you've finished it all, I think we might do a bit of both of them.
I have to say I'm more excited by Angelica than I am by the other one.
It's brilliant. There's so many fun games in it, and we will get a pick and choose. Yeah, this is going to be, like, usually we'll say it's like a 2 hours in between, like, when we pause, and it's indifferent for the audiences, but for this might be like this is a full day.
Yeah, this is a day together. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to start like our normal format.
Yeah.
We're going to watch everything, and we're going to we don't even know, we're going to like maybe record separate segments, but this might end up being a massive episode, hence why Reptar Size Special.
And I think it's important as well that we do include like the parts that we still do, we still like to talk about. Like, so for me, Rugrats was always a part of my childhood. I just remember always watching it, either the TV series, the movies, or just like I say, playing the games. And recently I've worked at Nickelodeon, and I was very...
You haven't.
I know.
Have you?
I'd never bring it up.
Did you dress up as one of the Ninja Turtles as well,
No,
Fraser?
I'm friends with them.
Oh, okay.
Keep it on the DL, But I was very gutted that Rugrats wasn't going to be a character you could meet or be friends with.
Yeah, but imagine being in a giant baby outfit and crawling around. That was shit.
No, you don't crawl. It's very creepy. I have seen the costumes. They're like normal. Everyone's... They're like it is a costume. It's not like a face character. But like they're the same size as like Chase or like Patrick or whatever. And it's creepy. You don't have to crawl about, you just walk. But I'm a bit like, I'm glad. But a Reptar mascot would be so cool.
That would be cool.
I would love to meet Reptar and hear him roar. But you probably wouldn't be allowed to hear him roar. But we do have a soft play area that is Rugrats. And seeing so many of the kids being like saying, oh, what is that? I was like, man, that's Rugrats. How do you not know? You need to know. But there is a reboot coming, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, there was a and that's sort of why I thought I'd put it into the thing. So Paramount Plus are doing like a reboot of it, new animation style. Well, not new animation style, but like a glossier version of what.
I mean, we could do a cheeky special, couldn't we? Reviewing the pilot of that when it comes out.
No, because this is going to annoy you because Paramount Plus is out at the moment in the US, but it's not out in the UK.
Well, but it'll come onto something somewhere, won't it?
Probably not, no.
For fuck's sake.
Not unless Nickelodeon have a deal with someone else, like Netflix or something. But
Nickelodeon need to sort this shit out. We've said this before.
No, they are, but they sorted it out in America, just not in the UK.
That's what I mean. They need to sort this shit out for us.
No, I don't think they will. American companies don't really care about international until they need to. Really.
Well, yeah, you say that. They've got Nickelodeon World or wherever it is you work.
No Adventure. Oh, yeah, but there's a bit of drama with that. So the person who owned the business, I don't know if we really can go into this, but the person who owns the business approached Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon didn't approach that.
Oh, okay.
So, like, whenever you see, like, an attraction like that, so there's loads of Nickelodeon ones dotted about, that place will ask for the Nickelodeon branding. Like at Alton Towers will ask CBBS and CBBC.
Right,
CBBC aren't going to them.
Fair enough.
Whereas the opposite of that is Disney. Obviously, Disney will go to an area and like, we want this land.
Yeah. That makes sense. I assumed it was the same as Disney.
No.
Right.
No, Nickelodeon were just, because they're very as well touchy on like, that's why there's so many rules to when you're opening a Nickelodeon attraction. Like, if you wanted to use a certain character or whatever, you'll have to pay something. Right. You can't use like a discount version of a suit. You have to get them from where they get their suits from. So ours came all the way from the US. Right. A lot of our stuff, luckily, because there was a Spanish store, a lot of our stuff does come from Spain now because they've got extra stuff. But like, we have a 4D cinema that shows a Ninja Turtle movie. If we want to show another movie, we can't just get another Nickelodeon movie. We have to pay like thousands of millions. Yeah. It's a lot of it.
Fair enough.
Like. But yeah, it's cool seeing them like going into work and just saying hi. Hey Chucky, hey Tommy, hey Phil and Lil and
Phil and Lil.
You are going to be introduced to Kimmy, who is a new character who comes along in the Paris movie.
Right,
and she might be in season. I'm not sure if she's in season 4. She's even a later introduction.
Oh, so did the films come while the telly show was still on? It wasn't after like stuff like Star Trek.
No.
Ah.
It was in between because the first film, the Rugrats movie, introduced Dill, Tommy's younger brother.
Now I do remember
Dill
he's got very vaguely.
He's my responsibility.
Very, very vaguely I do remember Dill.
Yeah.
So the thing about Rugrats is, because I watched it later on in my childhood, when I was probably a little bit too old for it, I can remember everything more vividly than the stuff that I talk about that's a little bit older. Yeah. So I can easily name all the characters without making notes. Back me up here, Fraser, I haven't made any notes.
Yeah, he's not made any notes.
So there's Chucky, who's the ginger-haired one, Angelica, Phil and Lil, who are the twins. There's Tommy, who's the main one, Dill, his little brother. I might struggle with the parents, but I got all the main cast,
Yeah, there's Grandpa as well.
There was Grandpa.
There was a Grandpa there is a, I was very tempted to do it, because he's Jewish. There's a very good religious, like, Hanukkah episode. I was like,
okay.
That's really nice. There's also a very good Christmas episode as well.
So Tommy's Jewish then?
Sort of. I think it's just like his granddad. I think it gets lost generation by generation.
Oh, okay. So they didn't do his Briss episode?
No.
Okay.
Can you imagine? Oh my goodness. They do a lot of stuff within the imagination though, and there is a lot of like adult themes and adult jokes in there. Like, considering it's a show about 5 babies, they do manage to get some pretty deep messages in here. Like, not to spoil the show we're gonna do, the episode we're gonna do, but it's called Mother's Day, and obviously a big thing about Chucky's character is his mum passed away when he was really, really young, and that's something we're going to see maybe not in Search for Reptar, but we're going to see in the films, and we're definitely not going to see it in Angelica's world. That would be a horrible shock.
I love Angelica's world.
That would be a horrible shock.
I haven't played it yet, but I'm really excited.
I think this might be your favourite video game.
I'm really excited.
You might go into like video game podcasts and go, yes, I'm coming to bring
Angelica's world. I think there's lots of shows that we could have done like an extended episode with. But like the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles month, because it's something we've both experienced, I think this is the right one to try and have a mix on the format.
And this is also one of them where, like, usually we do like top fives or something. This is another one of mine that's not. We're not going to put for you.
It's
top
not
five.
fair because
because there's so much of it.
We've both seen it as well. And
and because there's so much of it as well, I feel like it's unfair to sort of like. It's almost like I'm tipping the scales, especially because like SpongeBob was another one that I had played video games of that had movies as well. It had a movie with David Hasselhoff in, where he's
brilliant.
He's a boat basically.
Good.
Like he starts, it's brilliant.
But the thing about Rugrats is that, in theory, if we were going to do top fives, it would have to go into both of our top fives, and it could potentially be quite a biased high level.
If Rugrats was if Rugrats was to be part of my top five, I'm sorry, but it'd be the recess of yours. Like,
and it's not fair.
It's
a cheat because we both watched it.
No.
Did you watch much of Series 1 and Series 2?
So I was very, very young, so I have no concept. I was that young, I had no concepts of seasons or anything.
Right, so you don't know.
Literally, I saw Rugrats. I heard the and then it was the badam that had what the title was called.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. There you go. That's from the cold open.
Well done.
That just in case everyone's like, what was that from? It goes badam and it go like Mother's Day. Dun 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 dun. You'd be happy to know. The movies and the video games keep the format in.
Good.
That you get the theme song. It's great. This is a nice time to do a little bit of a preview. What are you most excited about? The video game, movie, or the telly show?
I think it's the video game and All Grown Up, because I've never watched All Grown Up, and I really like the idea of that kind of thing. You talked about this before, where Raven went from the kid and is now going to be the mum in a new show.
Oh, no, she is the mum, yeah. Raven's home, yeah.
So I think this is a really nice idea that I've never seen with any of my shows. So I'm looking forward to watching All Grown Up.
Well, it came from like one of the last seasons. They did a episode where they were all grown up, but they imagined what they would be like all grown up.
Right.
And then that was popular enough to get a thing. There was a second spin-off that didn't do as well as All Grown Up. I can't remember what it's called, but it was with Susie Carmichael and Angelica, and it was them going to school. So like their preschool adventures.
Okay.
But yeah, that didn't.
Susie's the black girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember her now. You've mentioned
with
her.
The hair and
with
the stuff
with
like
the pigtails, yeah.
Yeah. That was the thing I always liked about Angelica as well. And for Susie with Angelica, Susie was always like Angelica's little pants, because sometimes she could be quite mean. Have you heard the horrible, horrible, horrible fan theory?
What?
That all the babies like either not alive or dead or whatever, and it's all in Angelica's brain or something, that like some of the characters are like stillborns or whatever.
Oh fuck!
There's a dark theory behind the Rugrats. Like,
I don't need that in my life.
No, I just don't get why people do such dark like fan theories. Like,
this isn't life on Mars or Ashes to Ashes. We don't need like dark shit at the end of a weird thing.
I do like how there is some humour in there where you're like, what? It's like Tommy's dad. Oh, what's it? Something Mr. Pickles or
Mr. Pickles.
I forgot his name. He's like, it's just got a vivid memory that she's stirring like hot chocolate or whatever, or like chocolate milk at like 3 a.m. The mum goes, what are you doing? Why are you making hot chocolate for in the morning? It's like, because I've lost all control of my life. And I'm like, I can see how like...
That's quite dark, actually.
I can see how like new parents would watch this with their kids. Their kids are seeing their babies, but the parents are seeing themselves reflected as well.
Yeah, you're right. Like, that's a joke for the parents.
For everyone. And I think that's probably why you probably weren't too old for this show, because you'd be able to pick up little bits in, and... I think it's quite sophisticated considering it's about 5 babies. Because if you watch a show now... and they're like, oh, it's about 5 babies, you go, oh, they're going to be doing like fart and wee jokes. And maybe there is that in here. But...
I think this is something I've noticed as we've gone through various shows on this podcast, is that more than I ever would have spotted as a kid, there's actually plenty of stuff in there for grown-ups as well in all the shows we've done.
That's the thing, grown-ups are making these shows, so they got to make themselves laugh.
Even stuff like King Rollo, there was some stuff where it was like, bloody hell, that's quite a strong message for a show about a boy king who skips about.
That's it, isn't it? It's the thing of educational TV as well, isn't it? That got big, but you've got to find the balance between like Dora the Explorer and
Yeah.
And it's like when someone's intensely staring at you at the screen, you're just like, don't know what you do, mate. Don't know what. Why look at me, Dora?
So I think what's odd about this is both of our memories of the show, we both know exactly what the show is. There's no real speculation like we sometimes do, particularly me on my episodes.
Yeah.
So
I've got some
Go on.
speculation. What colour? Because Tommy never has hair throughout the series.
No, he's always got like wispy stuff.
Yeah, what colour hair do you think Tommy's got?
Blonde.
And it will be revealed when he watches the episode.
All grown up.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
You're rocking a bit of the Tommy's hairstyle right now, aren't you?
Rude.
Sorry, that was really mean.
Rude.
You can say I'm rocking Chucky in the summer when I go ginger.
Just because it's true doesn't mean it's not mean.
Is that another thing we could be? We could be Tommy and Chucky.
No, not. You're horrible to me.
What? Tommy's the lead of the show.
Oh, yeah, but he's bald and stupid.
He's not stupid.
He's quite naive.
He's a baby.
Yeah, so if you compare me to him, you're suggesting I'm bald and naive? I'm at least 50% of that.
Which 50% do you want to be, though?
But
if you were given an option, you can have a full head of hair, but you're...
really naive.
Yeah.
Right, but Chucky...
You're totally in tune with everything, but you've not got a single hair on your head, like Lex Luthor.
Wow. And we're going to move on from that. The thing about
You've
Chucky...
not said...
That's because I'm not going to. The thing about Chucky, if you're comparing yourself to Chucky...
He's a fraidy cat.
Yeah, you're Ginger and Fraidy... Oh, wait, Ginger and Fraidy cat.
Exactly.
That kind of is
doesn't
you.
like Chucky. That's the one thing that always annoyed me. Another thing that always annoyed me about Chucky as well. You know, the horror series, Child's Play.
Yes.
He's Ginger called Chucky, ruining this Chucky Finster's look.
Well, Child's Play was years and years before Rugrats came out. That's an interesting thing, though. I wonder whether it's a reference.
It's got to be on it.
It could be.
It's got to be.
And it's quite a dark thing to do if it is.
Mate, have you heard the jokes they were saying? Maybe this fan theory does pay dividends.
Child's Play was not a underground film. It was one of the most famous horror films of the 80s. It was notorious, yeah, and it's still going. And you think a ginger kid called Chucky has got to be a reference.
Yeah, definitely.
But why would they do that? Because, you know, hey,
I'm
Chucky.
Kids aren't going to know. Kids aren't going to know, are they? And it's also very cool because he's the fraidy cat as well, so it's all relevant, isn't it?
True.
And it's all Rugrats, this Reptar special.
It is. So we're going to watch.
Should we go on the search for Reptar, get all grown up?
Oh, here we go.
I'm trying to think of another segue.
Go to Angelica's Mall.
Go to Angelica's Mall to get all grown up while we search a Reptar.
What we're going to do is we're going to watch some stuff, and we're going to probably split it into segments when we've done bits.
Possibly,
maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So I mean, for us, we're just working it out, but for you, it's going to be a fluid.
We're going to talk a lot of Rugrats at various stages throughout the day, aren't we?
Definitely, yeah.
Brilliant.
Different formats.
Right, we're at least going to go and watch some Rugrats and the film, and then we'll see in a bit. Yeah. Thank you for listening to Right in the Childhood. We've been overwhelmed by the love and support that we've received from our listeners. If you're enjoying the show, you can buy us a coffee via our Ko-fi website. That's kofi.com/Right in the Childhood. ko-fi.com/Right in the Childhood. There's no subscriptions or anything like that, so just buy us a coffee if you fancy. We do this for the love, but it's always good to get bought a drink. P.S. Neither of us actually enjoy coffee. We'll probably spend it on vegan takeaway. Thank you.
Sometimes a baby's got to do what a baby's got to do. And these babies are We're going to talk about we're going to talk about Rugrats.
We have literally spent an entire day
with the Rugrats. Like, we've been with them when they were babies, when they went to Paris, when they were on the search for Reptar, in Angelica's imagination, and when they were all grown up.
So I think we recorded at about 12 o'clock today, midday, the first part of the show. It is now 9:30.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We ate in between as well.
Well, yes, but we have done a lot of Rugrats.
I feel like we've lived it. But I could still do more Rugrats. Maybe not right now, but...
So, in a normal recording day, we do 2 shows and have enough time for a film afterwards.
Yeah.
I have spent my entire day consuming Rugrats media.
And I don't know if that's a credit to it or not. Like, because I feel like if it was anything else, we would have stopped at a certain point and go, or like touched the other person on the shoulder and gone, this is enough. Or like, or touched the person and gone, we can stop here if you want. Whereas we completed Search for Reptar and we played all the mini games you can play in Totally Angelica. We didn't complete Totally Angelica because, I'll be honest, Mark was getting a bit annoyed.
Should we talk about the video games in a bit and actually talk about the telly show first?
Yeah, we're going to try and keep an order here, which I think we will, to be fair, because you're quite detail-orientated with your notes. And
I try, but you are a law unto yourself.
Yes.
So we first watched your favourite or the most popular episode of Rugrats?
Yeah, so there was a couple on IMDb that were 8.1, but I sort of wanted to go for a theme of this. I sort of wanted to connect all the different things we were doing in weird ways. So this is very much connected to the movie we chose out of the sort of 3, if you do count the Wild Thornberrys crossover they did. So I chose Mother's Day, which is a whole story based around Chucky and his mum, who's not around in the show and the movies.
It's implied she's died of cancer, from what I could see, or at least died of something that kills someone, people young.
Yeah, and that she knew was coming because she had a diary while she was, doing it. And it starts off very cute, very innocent. Like, obviously the babies don't know what Mother's Day is. Angelica, the older one, is sort of teaching the Rugrats, about life, and not in the best way, like, obviously, because she doesn't know everything 100%, but she's making something for her mother, and she's like, oh, you got to get something for him, so the kids are looking for, the rest of the Rugrats are looking, and then Chucky comes in, and he's like,
I haven't got a mummy.
So then they start looking for a mummy for him, which is really cute, but then it's...
Unfortunately, it's Angelica, and she's a crap mom.
Yeah, my Angelica mum, and
Angelica mum.
No, she uses that to manipulate Chucky to get him to do stuff for her mum, and there is a nice moment where like Chucky sort of realises that his dad is his mum in that way. Like,
it was so sweet.
I love stuff like that. Like Onward was really good with it. With like the character, the one that Tom Holland played, was always looking for his dad. And
this is the Disney film. Onward.
Wanted to be with his dad, and then realised that Ian realised that his brother Barley he had a dad all along, he had that. And Barney from How I Met Your Mother has it where he's always searching for his dad and realises that his mum was his dad as well. And
what I really like about adorable. This is there's a lot of stuff about single mums, whereas you don't see so much about single dads. And even in 1995, 96 when this first came out, maybe... He's a single dad.
Yeah.
What's his name? Charles. He's a single dad. Chaz.
So the first season was 1991, I think. And then
really? That early?
It was like 2004 or 5 when it
Good
came
grief.
off. Yeah. Honestly, it's one of Nickelodeon's longest running shows, and that's a good thing with Nickelodeon. Their shows run for a very long time. Some for their credit, some maybe not. Like some maybe different quality towards the end, but especially that animation, like SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, this went for years. And then obviously spawned sequels, and now we're getting like reboots of them as well. And
Oh, I don't want a Rugrats reboot.
For good reason. Although I do think if they if they go a bit experimental with their reboot, like I was thinking, oh, they've done something really good here with like the single dad. It'd be interesting if they did different parents in like maybe an LGBT couple or like someone doing adoption, like because I think it's very like. Phil and Lil's mum is very much like, you can tell she's a feminist, or like she's not the stereotypical mum you expect, you know. She's like,
no,
which is, and it explains like Phil and Lil very much why they like playing in the mud and all that, and it's
and also why they're not really gender stereotypes, despite the fact it could have been easily done. That the twins, one was a boy stereotype, one was a girl stereotype.
I remember as a young kid not knowing really which gender they were. Like, I think I didn't realise that one was a boy and one was a girl until maybe all grown up, but that could just be memory playing a trick on me.
I think there is a level of androgyny for both of them, which I think is to the credit of the show, that the more important thing is that they're siblings rather than one's a boy and one's a girl.
Yeah. And they're both babies, aren't they?
They are both babies.
Bibs.
I just was surprised by how sensitively done everything was.
One of us teared up, and it's not the one that usually tears up.
Okay. I wasn't going to tell everyone that, but okay.
I know. I think it's important to the. I mean, it was probably
me.
It was your thing to reveal, not mine. But I thought that was a beautiful moment.
Hey, everyone! Fraser's ace outed you as well.
Yeah, that's true. Fair.
There we go.
Fair.
No, I did have I didn't have an actual cry, but I was a bit emotional.
Eyes. No, to be fair, I got the chills. I was like, oh, that's fake. And I kept going to you going, oh. Or like, oh my God.
It was really surprisingly well done. And obviously I didn't really get that emotion when I was a kid at this. Particularly at the age I was watching it. I think I was kind of like, can't get sad at stuff kind of thing at that age.
Oh yeah, of course. I think it's one of them as well. Like, as a kid, you'll watch it and you'll be like, you can identify as tricky and be like if you've just got one parent, you're like, oh, I can do that. But like, if you're a parent raising your kid watching this TV show with them, you can identify with the Chad's character so much, because you're like,
I think
that must be a difficult thing to. What age do you tell your child that you used to have a mum, or like? This is why I was thinking like adoption or like LGBT parents. When do you tell him, oh, this isn't the norm, or this isn't the nuclear family, or
this isn't what other people consider normal.
Or you did have mum or whatever, or you did have a dad. Like, and like parents are divorced, like that can be again a similar sort of thing. So there's so many people who can identify with this, and it is nice that as well that like Chucky does have the memories of his mum, but he always thinks it's a dream, and again it just plays on that almost naivety, but like sort of like how your brain works when you're younger. It's innocence
more than naivety, I think. I think naivety perhaps suggests that they could be less naive, whereas innocence, I think, is something that you lose.
I guess the two are sort of like joined together sometimes, aren't they? I think naive sometimes like can be like a way of discrediting someone in a way.
True.
But when you think about it, like, you are naive when you're a kid, but it's good to be naive when you're a kid, because you want to believe everything, and like you've got that trust and that innocence, and then sadly the world does probably corrupt you a bit.
So some observations. I really didn't remember there being as much focus on the parents as there was. I thought they were very much background characters, and I guess that again is coming at it from, I only watched a bit of it because it was right on the tail end of my childhood and a bit too young for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I just remembered the baby stuff because that's probably what kids remember the most.
Yeah, you remember the parts that are about you, I guess, and yeah, like I definitely got a similar vibe. Like, I remember liking Stu Pickles because I just thought he was a funny dad, but he reminds me like of an early stage of, you know, Phil Dunphy from Modern Family.
Yes.
He's quite like, he tries his best, but he's a bit of a
I remember the granddad being prominent, but I didn't really remember any of the other characters. So Phil and Lil's mum was cool.
Yeah, Grandpa Lou, I remember being a big part of like Tommy's growing up, because, you know, he sort of babysat him quite a lot. I remember Stu and his inventions, and I remember like the moms being huge parts of everyone's story. Chucky's because he doesn't have one. Phil and Lil's because she's a strong woman, and I remember the husband always being sort of like the
quiet,
quiet type, and it was nice because, you know, you do see those families in real life, and you know the ones where it's like, oh yeah, the mum will talk and the guy will just, okay, whatever you say. And it was dead funny as well when they were talking about Mother's Day, because they were like, oh, what did Stu get in? She was like, oh, I'm not sure yet, he's trying to make this invention, and it goes on to his character. But she was like, oh, what about your husband? And he's like, oh, I've given him the day off. He always gives me what I want. I'm like, nice. Like, you go, girl.
I think what's interesting is I remember the friendships of the children, but the parents clearly have strong friendships as well.
Because they're the ones where the friendship would be the reason why these kids hang out. Because they're not going to... It's not like the baby's going to point and go, oh, you've got to go there. It will be the parents. And that's like Angelica's relationship with more. Like, Angelica is the cousin of Tommy. Like, you know, their two dads are brothers and stuff. So, like, they share the grandpa. And that's, like, their connection. And you sort of see it all. And, yeah, it just makes it more believable. And I think when you're first growing up, your first lot of friends are either ones you've got from school or, like, clubs you do. Or, you know, they're kids of your parents' friends. And,
yeah. I could still name you all the kids that I know, or rather knew, as a kid because our parents were friends.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I drifted away from all of them way before I went to university.
Yeah.
And I think there's...
Before you were all grown up.
Yeah. And I think they could have touched on that as like something quite sad that potentially happens in All Grown Up. But we'll talk about All Grown Up in a little bit.
That would have been a bit too sad, I feel like. I would have been like, oh no, why are they not all friends or whatever.
But I think the friendships in this are really, really lovely. The children's friendship is based on innocence, but also play and kindness.
And they all support one another. Like they've all got their important parts. Like Tommy's obviously like the brave one who sort of helps. Chucky's quite frightened, but he's got the heart, I feel like. Chucky's definitely the heart of the piece. Like, they all want to work for him, and like Phil and Lil are sort of that dynamic duo who sort of like, again, they're sort of fearless, but like, I don't know, there's just the energy they got. Like, they've got this fun vibes, or like they're not afraid to get dirty.
They're the weird friend, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not afraid to get dirty. And like, yeah, Tommy's definitely like sort of like the leader, sort of like, he knows everyone's best qualities and he knows how to bring everyone back together, which is vital.
Angelica is as mean as I remember. She really was quite mean.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fascinating depiction that was kind of brave, really, because it happens a lot that an older child, if there's a bunch of younger kids or a younger kid,
looks down on them,
looks down on them, but will basically bully them with no real concept of bullying because they've been told, you're the older one, you're more important.
Yeah, or like you have to look after them. And they see, again, it's how adults portray themselves, I think, around kids, because she would have seen adults being bossy, like teachers or whatever. She's like, I've got to do that. And you do see it quite a bit, like working with kids, like I see it quite a bit where I'm like, they'll see, you know, it'll be something either in the media or something they've seen in the thing where it's like, oh no, I'm the boss now, or I'm the teacher. And they've got the clipboard and they're demeaning, like the other one's like, you know, you play the kids now, I'm going to be the teacher. And then they're dead mean. I'm like, that just says so much about the teachers that we're employing these, like, obviously it's not every teacher, but some people just go into teaching just because like they've got this power complex or whatever. And sadly, it's, you know, it happens quite a lot. But there are teachers out there who are like,
there are brilliant teachers out there, but unfortunately you tend to remember the bad shit. So I could name you lots of bad teachers, but only a few good teachers from my childhood.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think that's what Angelica sort of uses as her base. Although she can be quite sweet to them as well. And there is that thing of like, you do feel like she is trying, like when she's teaching about Mother's Day and stuff.
She's got a weird, warped child sense of responsibility that makes her almost accidentally mean, but she's so mean.
But I think
she'd probably be quite upset if she realised she was mean.
Like if someone pointed it out to her and she didn't realise, or like if someone acted that way, which is why I think the Susie Carmichael character becomes such an influential part, and like her friendship with her helps her so much because Susie's there to point her out or to be like, oh no, this is how you should be, like, because she is the good teacher, she is the nice
Susie's
teacher.
Sweet. She wasn't in this episode, but I remember her being
we didn't
so
get to
sweet.
see, I don't think in our whole Rugrats binge we didn't. Oh no, we saw her in the film briefly.
Yeah.
Which was, it was nice, but I was like, oh, I want to see more Susie. I remember it being nice. Her and Angelica, it was a school days or preschool days or something. So that was their spin-off they got, but
we didn't look at preschool days because
it wasn't as successful.
I think we've had enough Rugrats.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen it as part of my childhood, so it wasn't really fair to include it, I feel. Who knows?
I think there was a really nice balance of the strong messages that I've seen across the shows we've watched, but really well done, more than I ever remember them being done. But also a nice balance of silly, fun stuff with kids eating worms and squirting stuff. It was just a really nice balance.
You got what you needed on both sides of the coin. And it was clever humour as well. It wasn't just like... It was, in a weird way, clever baby humour where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's... Like, I still laughed at that, and it wasn't, just fart and poops like...
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we've watched on here where we've gone, that's okay, it's kids' humour. But with this, it's been like, oh no, that's kids' humour that's actually funny as well.
I think, I work in the funeral industry, and the depiction of grief and the lack of understanding because people don't talk about it was fascinating. Chaz didn't know what to do about his own grief and was concerned about his child's grief, which meant he, not even deliberately, but kind of hid stuff from him and didn't explain stuff to him. And it was really, really lovely the way his friendship group kind of rallied around him at the same time as the kids were rallying around.
Yeah.
And
again, it mirrors the story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that becomes a reoccurring thing of like, the parents are so similar to their kids and their kids are similar to them that a lot of the times the stories would be, like you say, like it went back and forth between parents and kids. The story theme would be for both the adults and both the kids.
But a sensitive children's story about grief was just subtle, but so well done. I was blown away, I think. I think it was really, really lovely.
It was good. Definitely lived up to the childhood hype.
Yeah. Beyond the childhood hype of something that I watched because it was on when I was a little bit too old and it was just there and it was vaguely entertaining.
Yeah.
I feel this is better quality than I remember it being.
It's one of those, it reminded me a lot of Recess of like the significance behind it and why it stuck around. And it is really interesting because the creators of Recess, Paul and Joe, actually came from Rugrats. Like they weren't the people who created Rugrats, but they worked on there and sort of spun from it. So it just shows like the creators behind this were clearly very passionate about it. And again, I think it goes to, it's very similar conversation we're talking like with parents and stuff. There's a lot of money to be had in children's TV, and I think some people are quite lazy with it. But then you'll have people who are clearly passionate about it, like people who are passionate about their teaching will find creative ways to motivate and encourage and educate children. And I think the same thing goes here. Like, I've always said most of my learning was from movies and TV shows, but I think that isn't a bad thing. Like, people think, oh no, you can't stick in front of the TV, they'll just learn nothing or whatever. But the amount of like messages and like important life lessons you can learn from TV, like you can't discount it anymore.
There was
as long as you're putting on the right stuff.
Yeah, there was so much important stuff in this 20-minute episode. Grief is okay. Kindness is important. Sometimes people who are unpleasant are misunderstood or don't understand what they're doing. All of these things are hugely important things, and they did it in a way that was entertaining and watchable and appealing to kids.
And one of the most
brilliant.
One of the most important lessons is macaroni's not just for eating or putting up your nose.
It's for art.
Yeah.
That wasn't one of the most important lessons, Fraser.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It seemed quite important at the time.
Okay.
Not for sticking up your nose.
No. I bet you've done that.
Probably at some point in my life.
Last week.
Can't think of recently now. And that's probably just because I've not had macaroni near me recently.
It's true.
Next time I have macaroni, I'll stick up my nose.
Please don't.
And I'll post a picture on
Please don't.
social media.
Do you want to move on and talk about...
I was going to say, do you want some macaroni? Yeah. But no, let's move on.
Right. Let's move on and talk about Rugrats in Paris. Does that work?
That is a perfect segue because I chose the episode of Mother's Day because I remember the film focused a lot on Chucky getting a new mum in Rugrats in Paris.
I'd never seen the film, and the character that was introduced that became a main character of the show I'd never even heard of. So this was really interesting for me because it was...
We got Kimmy and Kiri.
Well, it was 2020. Remember, I graduated in the year 2020.
Yeah.
So I was 21 at this point.
Yeah.
So I would never have watched this.
No.
And again, it tells you about the longevity of the show. That something that I was watching at 15 was still going when I was a proper grown-up with a degree.
I'm mad at that.
Yeah.
And I was still enjoying Rugrats.
You were, well, yeah, but you were like... what,
loving it.
5 or 6 at this point?
Loving live. I still watch this as much as I can. We had, so a few Christmases ago, we were on our way to, ironically, Disneyland Paris. And this was on, and we're like, oh, we'll record it. And someone turned it off by the thing, so we had 5 minutes of it. So for like 2 years, we had 5 minutes of Rugrats in Paris. I think it was like 3 minutes at the beginning and 2 minutes at the end when someone switched the TV back on.
Devoed.
So when this was coming up and I found out, it's always on. So we watched it. I've got a recording of it on Film 4. Also, want to point out as well, I've got Rugrats DVDs, episodes on VHS. And the 2 movies on VHS, but we couldn't find a VHS player. Actually, I tell you, there is a VHS player in my house, but we're not digging it out. It was easy just to... It was on Film 4 one day, I'll just record it. So, yeah, and... Yeah, it was interesting that, going back to the Disneyland thing, how much they mocked Disney in this, and I was all for
cheeky. It was definitely cheeky.
Like, it wasn't the only time they referenced... like movies, especially in this movie, like they reference The Godfather a lot in very clever ways.
Yeah, I want to talk about that separately to Disneyland. I do feel like, and I'm going to say it, this was a Mickey take.
Nice.
See what I did there? It was a Mickey take of Euro Disney, because that's where it was set in.
Yeah, because it was Euro Reptar.
The Reptar equivalent of Disney.
And they're saying,
World
why would
Paris.
you put like a Tokyo themed theme park in the middle of Paris? And I was like, hey, nice.
But they also had a subplot with Spike the dog that was basically Lady and the Tramp.
It was,
but Spike kind of botched it, which was kind of sweet. So I think it was clearly a poke at Disney. Does Nickelodeon do that a lot? Poke at Disney?
I think they both poke at each. They both tend to poke each other quite a bit.
Really? Disney's arsed?
But then a lot of them. Oh no, I think it's just like it's like banter.
Right.
But obviously because they're not British, they wouldn't say it's banter. But like Warner Brothers have done it as well with Disney and stuff like that, and others like I think the famous one with Warner Brothers is I think it's in Space Jam where like they go oh, why would you have a team called the Ducks, which everyone thinks is a knock at the Mighty Ducks, that the film.
Right. Yeah,
but it's not. Disney actually bought a team and called them the Ducks after the Mighty Ducks, but like so it's a double thing. But this was. Yeah, I think Nickelodeon and Warner Brothers, like Disney's this big thing. You always sort of have that cheeky, winky, like, little nudge, like, nothing too offensive. Like, it's not saying, oh, wasn't this a shit idea? It's just them going, oh yeah, let's do a fun sort of theme park thing, just like a reference of like almost like a touch of respect as well. Like, so,
no, there's no respect. I didn't feel like it was respectful.
Do you reckon?
I think it was gently taking the piss. I don't think it was savage or anything, but I don't think there was any respect there. No.
Yeah, no, but they could have gone all out. And,
they
like,
could.
They could have made like the Disney president look like an evil person.
But that's tasteless. Yeah. And
but there are shows that do that. Like Family Guy can sometimes go a bit.
Family Guy's an adult show.
Yeah.
Whereas this was still a kids.
Yeah, but they could have got away with it. It would have gone over kids' heads if they were.
Maybe.
But yeah, I think they'd in a respectful manner.
But let's talk about the Godfather parody.
Yeah,
it was great. I loved it.
What was it? The Bob Father, and then when it was Chucky, it was the Snot Father.
So, I loved it, but I'm a 42-year-old man who has watched the Godfather trilogy.
Yeah,
I don't feel like kids would get this.
I liked
particularly the joke about the head of the.
Well, I liked this as a kid because I thought it was funny. It was like, oh, she's playing a character, but then obviously being older and watching it, like the head. There was two.
The horse's head. The reference of the horse's head.
There was two of them because there's like. Angelica's mum was like, oh, I only left the movie on for a few minutes, I'm sure it didn't make too much of a difference. And Phil and Lil were like, oh, she did this to our wooden horse, and she goes, yeah, don't mess with Cynthia's hair. And then later on as well, they go see like Reptar's head's just there, and she goes, oh, the Bob Father's got to her as well. And I was like, that's a nice little Because they're so...
Those jokes would have gone over kids' heads.
Yeah,
I bloody hope they would.
Because they're so, like, little things. Again, it's like, for the adults, again, to be like, her laugh, and...
It's fascinating,
That's
isn't
how
it?
they can perfectly balance it, because it doesn't take you out the moment. It's just a simple little thing.
As a kid, I never, ever thought there was ever anything in there for adults.
Yeah.
And I guess it keeps adults sane that are watching these films twice a day, 10 times a week.
You've got something to look forward to.
Yeah, there's at least a joke
and
for them.
I think it's got to be good for the creators as well, because then you can sort of be like, oh, how can we do this playfully, or how can we show our love for this film, or how can we, use this element from our real lives in it, and like the Disneyland, they can go, okay, how can we use what they've done here to what, like, we see Reptar, it's a rip-off of, like, Godzilla, but also, like, if Reptar was to have his own theme park, and we want to do this movie in Paris, it's like, oh, Disney have just done this thing in Paris, maybe we could do something like that. Taking inspiration from real life or other movies, and it benefits it as well, but it doesn't make it feel like, like a Ready Player One, where, like, oh, this film is just references.
I quite liked Ready Player One, but the references were for me.
I enjoyed it, but I think that whole film is based on references.
It's an extreme thing, Ready Player One, and it is what it is. The guy went out there to just throw his love of 80s and 90s culture into a book.
I will say
that then adds like a thriller plot.
Yeah, I will say I preferred the movie to the book purely because the movie managed to focus more on a plot, and like the random references that were in the book seemed less random in the movie, if that makes sense, because they were all sort of connected to his relationship. But anyway, we're not talking about Ready Player One.
I want to talk about the theme at the start of Rugrats in Paris. It started with a normal do 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 do,
but then there was like a little
they
paint
made it
splatter.
Frenchy. It was really kind of. It was nicely subtly accordion French.
Yeah, this was the second movie they did, and they even said like Rugrats 2 with the Godfather font, and I was like, oh, nice, I remember that.
And
reference.
the animation was a step up from the kids from the TV show.
Yeah, and I think that also tells like. Paramount and Nickelodeon worked together. I think this was one of the first films, well, a few films, because it was the first one as well, that Paramount and Nickelodeon did work together. They put their money together for these, because there was a lot. They had a great partnership, Paramount and Nickelodeon. They still do now, to be fair, where they would do, okay, you've got this successful show, let's do a few movies for it, get it a cinematic release and get kids in cinemas. But then they would also do, here's a film that we've done, but we reckon you could get a TV show of it. Like Jimmy Neutron's a big example of that. Like it was a film first, and then it became a.
But there was clearly some money in it because there was some computer generation.
Yeah, I think,
but not in a really kind of crass way. How around this time, particularly live action, if I'm being completely fair, but you would have something. Look at the computer gen.
Yeah,
like I don't know, the Star Wars stuff is quite obvious. The prequels. This wasn't quite as yucky as that. I feel like Disney got it right with The Lion King, for example. Yeah. And this seems to get it right. They used computer gen, but didn't over-egg it and overstretch it.
Yeah. I think also it tells like the time it came out compared to the episode we watched, because this was, towards the latter end of Rugrats' run, whereas the episode we watched was halfway through Rugrats' run. So we would have probably seen, if we watched a later episode, because it came after the film, we would have seen the development there. Because I think the last season, Kimmy gets introduced in this movie, and then she's seen in the last 2 seasons, I think. And then obviously comes back for All Grown Up as well.
Yeah, Kimmy was really sweet, and I'd never ever seen that character before.
Yeah, she's dope. Kimmy and her mum Kira, them two. And it was just like the perfect match for Chucky and the dad. It was like, oh, there's a little family all sorts. And it's good to see like the step family, and they managed to do it perfectly, where it was like they introduced the concept at the beginning and it comes back at the end, because we start and finish with a wedding. The first wedding is grandpa who meets like a new grandma, and he tells his 2 kids, don't worry, the love that I had for your mother will never change, but this woman's showed me how to love again.
Which is
and
lovely.
That idea is repeated with Chucky's dad, Chaz, and Kimmy's mum. Like, that is a story that's repeated, It's perfect. It's like poetry, and you love to see it. And obviously, seeing Angelica as the the Bob father at first, like, oh, nice. And then you see Chucky as the snot father, which is nice again. And now Chucky was asking Angelica for something, now Angelica's asking for Chucky for something. It's nice. It's when it rhymes like that, it's great.
The sad stuff with Chucky and his mum, I think it was slightly more sensitively done in the episode we watched more than the film.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of the film was moving on rather than acceptance.
Yeah.
So I think it was two different stages in grief, really.
Yeah.
Despite the fact Chucky's probably only 6 months older here.
Yeah,
in real timeline.
It shows, doesn't it? Like with animation, sometimes like they can be the same age for like 10 years or something.
Well, that's the thing. Chucky doesn't look any different here, so we can only really say he's like 6 months to 12 months older.
He might not even be that. Like we don't know, do we? Yeah.
His dad would probably in real life have needed a little longer.
Yeah.
Because if Chucky's only, 3 or 4, then his wife's been dead for no more than 2.5 years. Yeah. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It did seem like there was a pressure for him to get back on, to get a mother and stuff like that. And, maybe in the modern day we would have been like, no, it's okay. We would have learned.
Of course it's okay. It's just, it's quite unusual that it would be that quick, I think.
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, like, if this was released now and maybe in the modern day, the story would have been, oh no, Chucky, it's okay that Chucky's dad's single and raising Chucky, and we never do see him get... I think him falling in love is great to see, and it's great to see again, but if that wasn't to happen, it wouldn't have been a missed opportunity, because it's like, it would have been another message to show that it's okay that, you had this great love story, and you got a child out at the end of it, and you're keeping that through. But it was nice that, he found a way to fall in love again. Although... it wasn't without an evil plot from Coco.
Coco reminded me of Cruella de Vil.
Yeah.
I think she was just a fun, mean, simple, malevolent baddie.
You enjoy to dislike her.
She's just sour and grumpy and
enjoy
hates
to sing
everything.
the song which I knew was coming. I see London, I see France, I see Coco's underpants.
Brilliant.
Love that.
But no, it was just a simple, malevolent kids baddie.
Yeah.
And it was great. You don't need a huge backstory
simple plot
for
as well.
10-year-olds.
It was like she needed a husband and a child to get the promotion she wanted. She actually hated kids, and it was good. Don't always need this. Always there's some black and grey area here, but no,
it was just she was mean.
Yeah,
and
had an agenda.
Resentful. Yeah.
And the kids got to do some fun stuff in between the whole movie. It was nice. They got to explore this theme park, and we sort of, again got to see the love for Reptar. And I gotta say, I love Reptar too. He's just brilliant. I
mean, I'm a huge fan of Godzilla, and I think for me, Reptar was one of the most memorable parts of Rugrats because I also loved Godzilla. And
I'll be honest, if I had the choice between meeting Godzilla or Reptar, I'd go Reptar every time.
I mean, I don't think I'd want to meet either of them, really. I'd probably get nommed.
No. I feel like Reptar... No, well, it showed in this film, Reptar's a child at heart, and he just needed someone soft to tend. They did do a mix of Godzilla and King Kong with this, because the whole... I can't believe there was a show... There was a singing show for Reptar in this sort of attraction. Again...
Oh, I didn't know. There's been Spider-Man the musical.
No, but Disney, are all about the whole, they will put on a show in their parks and stuff like that. So I was like, that was a nice nod. I would totally go see a Reptar musical or something like that. But they did the whole thing of he just needed someone to love, and then there's this beautiful princess that comes, which plays a part in Chucky's and his dad's story of Chucky sees the princess and he wants, the princess, and Coco pretends to be that princess, but really what it is... It
did draw heavily on monster movies. I think Super Snail was clearly a reference to how shit Mothra is. Mothra is a big fucking moth.
I think also they were in France as well. It was a nice to sort of do a double on top. Double on top.
But no, I mean, I don't get it. Fuck Mothra.
Yeah.
Batra, I can get down. Fucking bitey, gigantic bat. Much more badass than a big-ass butterfly.
But they never just...
King Ghidorah, 3-headed golden dragon that spits electric. Get on it.
Yeah.
But Mothra, mate. Mothra is shit.
Are we going to get some backlash?
Oh, we're going to get some hate for my Mothra hate. Yeah. But no, I definitely think it was a direct poke at how crap Mothra is by having a snail as the bad guy. And you're right, it does fit the French theme.
It does, doesn't it?
And the climbing the Eiffel Tower is very much the Empire State with Kong
that
as well.
Cool. That was fun.
Which was good.
You could call it as well when it was happening. It was like that because the babies get into a giant little Reptar thing, and the evil
like a giant Reptar robot
animatronic, which Stu. The reason why they're in Paris is because Stu, he's an inventor and he builds it for this theme park, and they call him up at like 3 a.m. and it's a funny scene because it's like classic and misinterpretation. They end up going to Paris and shit. He goes, okay, I'll see you in France. He goes, turns himself, hey honey, we're going into France. She's like, oh, I'm too tired to dance. And it's that kind of like humour, and he takes the whole family over there. And it's nice to see that one of his creations actually work. In the first movie, he does make a Reptar, like, sort of dune buggy, like, go-kart for the kids. And like, I always wanted to ride on one of them. And I would love to ride on one of these. Like, it was so cool. They were controlling, like, him going through. And then Coco's evil henchman, in a way,
piloted Super Snail.
Yeah, and it was cool to see. And then that's how he ends up at the top of the Eiffel. He knew as soon as he saw the Eiffel Tower, like,
he's climbing there. But the other one was a Jurassic Park reference with the water in the...
That's what I mean. Like, it's clear to tell that, like I say, Paul and Joe from Recess have the same sort of methodology as the creators of Rugrats, because they do get their sort of movie references in. There was so many to see, and again, that's a nod for the parents to watch, or like people like us.
Yeah.
But also, it's, you know, the kids are like, it doesn't affect their enjoyment of the story.
We should emphasise is we would probably watch this kind of stuff together even if we weren't doing the podcast, because it's okay to just sit and chill and watch dumb stuff that's originally made for kids if you're a grown-up.
But that's the thing as well, like, Walt Disney has a great quote where he says they never made stuff for deliberately for kids. They made stuff for everyone that kids can enjoy, and I love that mentality. And I feel like that's what Nickelodeon and Warner Brothers do, is like they're sort of following that mythology. And sometimes Nickelodeon will do it even in a better way, because they're willing to tackle these dark subjects. Like,
I feel like there's been a backlash on that though. Stuff like more young adult fiction is so grimdark.
Yeah.
So the body count in Hunger Games is horrific. You get these people that you are made to really like, these fleshed out characters.
Yeah.
And they run around murdering each other.
I think there is a middle ground though, because like you'll look at that and that's teens rather than like, you know, the like preteen stuff. Because I definitely feel like the teenage stuff, I feel like Hollywood like sexualizes and ages them up way too quickly. Like the reason why Percy Jackson didn't work was they aged him up from being like, I think they did it as well because they were worried that it was going to get Harry Potter comparisons, but it's better that than saying, oh no, this is just terrible, and getting the actual creator of the series to go, you sexualised my characters and I want nothing to do with this.
Wow. Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But Disney have got control of it now, and they're doing like a series, and hopefully it should all work out. But you see it all the time where like they'll sexualise these characters, like Riverdale. It irks me so much, but Jughead is asexual in the comics. It was a great thing for asexual representation, and he's just a sexed up teenager, like all of them in Riverdale, and like great. He's just another Archie who likes books instead of
That's a shame.
But Riverdale, again, it's one of them where like it is popular because it, you know, it's all sexed up and like it's got an older audience. But they've made a kids comic
into a teen show with Riverdale. Yeah. Which, why the fuck do they do that?
But again, that's the thing, and that doesn't live up to Walt Disney's thing of we've made shows that everyone can enjoy, especially kids. We've just made a teen show, specifically for teens. Like, I would say that's the important difference. Whereas like this stuff, all ages really does apply.
Yeah, I think I'd have this kind of thing on good quality kids telly.
Yeah.
In the background. I wouldn't sit and analyse it like we do for anything other than the show. But I've really enjoyed doing it.
This does lend itself to it more than other stuff we've done as well. I think same with like, it's same boat as Recess. Like these two, SpongeBob as well. And there's probably some others, but these two are definitely strong contenders for like, you could do, and I'm sure there's countless of them on YouTube, like video essays on it and why they are so important. I imagine they inspired so many other good animated shows, and yeah, you can see why it's on the top bill of like.
But it's still got the frivolity that's so important. Like, we both looked at each other at one point and went, "I want to stay in the Reptar hotel."
Yeah, it looked well cool. Honestly, it's so,
I want to ride on the Reptar bus.
So funny, and there was a fart joke that was funny.
Well,
they did a little
was it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. They were playing
You
with the
did.
goo, and yeah,
I really enjoyed the malaprops. I'd forgotten how much the kids malaprop in it, and like you see even adults getting turns of phrase wrong.
Yeah,
and it's so cute and lovable, and I've always loved a malaprop.
Yeah,
I'm a bit of a fan of a deliberate malaprop as well, because I do that. Like, for example, I quite often call Justin Timberlake Jason Timberland just because it amuses me.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of malaprops for a long time.
I do love the Rugrat ones, and like even on, I can't remember where I watched it, but like there was a description of the Rugrats things, and they would showing examples of them, and I will always say like "see you soonly," or like there'll be stuff like stuff from their dialogue which I will use, like it's. Because it's not baby speak. You don't sound like... It's not like Goo Gaga. It's just like, only the subtle things where they slightly got it wrong. And I will do that unintentionally as well because of my dyslexia, but...
you got me to patronise you when you do.
Yeah, but I also enjoy it.
I'll always correct you, Fraser.
I also enjoy making up words because, all words are made up when you think about it. And
well, you are not Shakespeare, but yes, that is true.
Exactly. So if anyone gives you grief or troubles or grubbles, grief and troubles...
That's not a word.
Grubbles, yeah. What's the message of the thing? When someone gives you grubbles, just...
That sounds like a bad guy from Labyrinth.
Cast him aside.
That sounds like a character from Labyrinth. Or...
Don't be giving me grubbles.
For goodness sake. You're not allowed to just make up words, Fraser.
Don't yick my yak.
What are you chatting about? Right, moving on. And the ending, mate.
It's good, wasn't it?
It was lovely and heartwarming and
good.
Stopped emotion.
Stopped a wedding, and we got a wedding. We got the wedding we wanted.
Yeah, it was really, really sweet.
Nice
Although
family.
I just don't feel like I'd want to go to a wedding where it was okay to throw cake. Personally.
Oh no, that was brilliant.
Yeah, you'd like that shit.
Food fine.
I'd be worried about my nice suit.
Brilliant.
You'd probably turn up in shorts to a wedding.
Brilliant hoodie and sweatpants. That's the best way.
You always turn up to everything in hoodie and shorts.
But like, I'd get like a suit-looking hoodie. Like get the fit tie or whatever.
You would as well.
Brilliant. But no, it was dead nice. I really loved it as well. This film, I don't know if it was the first... it was definitely probably not the first introduction of this song for everyone. But for me, Who Let the Dogs Out, I know the song from this film. So whenever I hear that song, I always think of Rugrats.
I tell you what...
Even though the song, I think, is actually about women and is pretty degrading to women because it's talking about that.
I'm not sure it was originally. I think it was used subsequently,
right,
yes.
Okay. Then that's good. They must have just used it because in this film it was because two dogs were let out and Spike wanted an intervention.
The soundtrack had quite the late 90s vibe.
Cyndi Lauper, was it?
Aaron Carter, Isaac Hayes, quite a few, quite big artists.
They spared no expense.
But that's the thing. It's a TV adaptation that has clearly spent some money to go to the cinema, like you were saying before, and the soundtrack's a really important part of that.
Yeah, I'd listen to this soundtrack without there.
And I do want to talk about...
Not repeatedly You Let the Dogs Out.
No, terrible song. Absolutely terrible song.
We did. I used to... back when my dog was still around, when I'd let the dog out, I'd sometimes sing to myself, Who let the dog out? I did. I just did.
You are...
Dog out? I did. I just did.
I wish I could judge you. But I quite regularly sing to my cat. Yeah. So, I can't. If you
Who's letting the dog in? I am. I hate Napoleon.
If you listen to the 2020 Christmas special of Cerebral Jukebox, I actually talk about how I adapt the lyrics of Feliz Navidad to sing to my cat. No, it's actually Hello Naggy Pash because it's the same number of syllables.
Hello Naggy Pash, yeah.
Hello,
I think I knew that actually. I think I've heard you sing it, yeah.
We've tangented. I want to talk about the dog subplot because Holy shit. They are bad pet owners. They don't notice the dog's gone for days. And he just goes
on adventure. Is it days though, or is it a few hours? I mean, I feel like he's fine. Like these, if we're questioning them, their kids go missing quite a lot.
That's true.
But they never realise, so it's and they're always safe at the end of the day, and I think that's the most important part.
But you're right, I think that is a flaw, is that they are terrible parents and terrible pet owners.
Well, maybe they're not terrible parents, because they do trust this evil woman, so that's kind of a bad thing, but they don't know she's evil, and she's the one who technically loses them.
Yeah, but throughout the series, they're terrible parents.
I guess, in a way.
They kind of abandon, ignore, don't watch... general
or at least the episodes we see. Maybe there's boring episodes where it would just be them just teaching them
and I
phonics.
think that's true. I think if you got too caught up in
that sort of
thing, so they are bad parents. But in almost every single kids film or TV show, the parents have to be bad for there to be a plot, I think. I still think it's worth pointing out. I was like, that poor dog.
Yeah.
But, you know, he pulled.
He's having the best time of his life.
Pulled a poodle.
He did, yeah.
Pulled a poodle. And does the poodle carry on in the series?
Not from my memory. I don't remember seeing it. Although, mind you, they did bring back, so maybe she did.
Retconned poodle.
Possibly.
Devoed. She was pretty. She was purple poodle. She was a purple poodle.
Purple poodle.
Yeah. Should we move on and talk about All Grown Up?
Yeah, it was purple hair. You were what was your prediction was blonde, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
So Tommy had purple hair and Dill had ginger hair, but it was very orange. Like, it was more orange than Chucky's ginger.
I wasn't expecting Dill to be ginger.
I will say, this sounds really weird about the show All Grown Up, and it's probably not the best thing to take away from it. The one thing I remember the most from it was, Tommy grew up to have purple hair and Dill had orange.
Yeah, it's quite a progressive school that lets him have purple hair.
Well, I think they were trying to pass off that this was his natural hair colour. Because...
Doesn't his dad have purple hair?
He kind of does, yeah. And his mum has... Dill's hair is very much like his mum's hair.
Okay,
and I was like, so maybe they're doing that. But I was like, in my head, and I remember as a child thinking, wait, can you have naturally purple hair? That is so cool.
You were a very naive child.
Yeah, and it's because I grew up watching Recess.
It's true.
Rugrats and Recess.
You're right. I think it's because his dad's hair's purple, and I'd never clocked that. It felt like it was some kind of punky choice.
Yeah.
But I think maybe because his hair was kind of punky as well.
Yeah, I did like Tommy. I know Dill's a bit of a hippie sort of, like he's bless him, he's a bit of a try-hard in this, but I do like him in a way.
I think it's an important thing that it's showing that
he is the youngest there.
Yeah,
he's the youngest
brother
there who's trying to impress the older friends.
Yes, that can tend to be a thing, is it's a bit try-hard. And, my experience with Scouts is that the older brother tends to find the younger brother really, really irritating when his mates don't mind him.
Yeah.
This is the general him. I'm not talking about specific kids.
Yeah.
But it's always just the older brother who doesn't like the nerdiness and the try hard. But that wasn't in All Grown Up anyway, so I don't know why I'm talking about it.
No, that's true. Yeah, they all get on, which is great. And All Grown Up had a really good, for its pilot episode, I like that they just skipped over all the, we're introducing everything. It's just like, Rugrats, let's get into this. And they chose a perfectly good story for the first episode, because this whole story is based on how Phil and Lil are always combined together, and how, now that they're grown up, Lil wants to have her own identity and stuff like that, and what that means for Phil. And it's interesting. And their family as well. It was because I always get about this. When you think about the original ones, she's the only girl in it, and like we said when we were talking about Rugrats,
before they introduced Susie.
When I was younger, I didn't know she was a girl and the actual gender and all that stuff. So it was, it was her being like, I want to be my own thing, and siblings have that, but the fact that the two were separate and they were twins,
couples sometimes have that as well.
Yeah, I guess
you almost feel obliged to invite John and Sarah rather than just John or just Sarah to a specific thing. Even if John doesn't like the thing you're inviting, because he's with Sarah, you invite. You know, it's. I think there's an important message about, yes, have strong relationships, have strong friendships, have strong sibling relationships.
Yeah.
Have strong...
But they are two individuals.
Yeah, and it's not healthy to be...
And I feel like it strengthens their relationship. Definitely by the end of the episode, like, it broke them down at first, but then that rebuild after it was so much better. Like, they were cute towards the end, like... her new friends make fun of her brother, and she's like, no, she stands up against him, and then she goes back to see him again, and it's this whole cute thing of now they've got two separate rooms, and it's like they agree that they want to do something fun together, and then Phil's like, yeah, get out of my room now, and it's like, oh, cute.
So it's quite sad for both of them, because when one partner, let's use the terms partner in this, because it could be a friendship, it could be a brother,
pairing. Let's say pairing, because partner feels,
okay. One side of the pairing is feeling more clingy than the other one at that point. The other one pushes them away. It's not just that the person being pushed away feels sad and rejected, it's that the person who pushes feels mean, and that's covered really well here in the way Lil feels, where she definitely feels guilt and definitely feels sad, but she also feels trapped.
Yeah, definitely. And like, it was a nice one, like I say, to start the show off with, because there was a B plot with, like, you know, Chucky and Tommy that was a lot more comical. Like, it was Chucky trying to get out of a PE, like, presidential test, and, you know, Tommy was just like, oh, why are you trying to do that? And like,
I felt the B plot was more kids' TV than the A plot, which was the Phil and Lil thing. There was definitely a PE teacher stereotype and a science teacher stereotype, and a really simple wimpy kid ends up being less wimpy than he thought he was, kind of thing. But maybe that's time constraints, maybe that's deliberate to give it a lightness, when what they're looking at with the twins is quite dark.
I think it was going to show that it can do both as well. Like, this pilot shows that, we're going to have episodes that are like this plot, but we're also going to have episodes that are like this one. And there's going to be episodes where we're able to do both as well, because we've got so many diverse characters. Like, one of the things I also remember from All Grown Up, and I think fans of the series do, is Kimmy and Tommy's relationship. Yeah, Kimmy becomes, like, after the Rugrats in Paris movie, becomes like a sister to Chucky, but also, like, Tommy and her develop a relationship together, and then it's sort of that tests Chucky and Tommy's relationship, because they were so close, they see each other as like brothers, and it's nice, and it's nice to see how that trio sort of work out together. And we didn't see any of that, but
we only watched the pilot.
That was still in the back of my head, but again, it just shows, like, we've got all these rich, diverse characters that we can do different things with, and it made me very much look forward to maybe revisiting some of All Grown Up as well, and just seeing where it went with that, because it was one of them. I always feel like sometimes spin-offs are never really as good as the original, but when the original is so good, then you know, if it's anywhere near it.
I felt like this was very much your kind of vibe. It was quite similar to things like Boy Meets World, or the equivalent that you watched, so maybe Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Or those like sitcom ones.
What was the other one in the school that you liked?
That's So Raven.
Yeah, so those kind of things. To me, it almost felt like this would be better suited to live action. There was nothing in this that smacked of, you couldn't do that with the budget for a live action show. Yeah,
it would be interesting as well, like, if they were to do, like, because they are talking about, with Paramount Plus, Nickelodeon are doing a lot of their animated shows as live action, so they're doing a live action Fairly Odd Parents. If you want to cast me as Timmy Turner, I'd be very appreciative of that. They already did that with a film with Drake, and for me it was like, oh my goodness, my two childhoods meeting at once. Fairly Odd Parents and Drake from Drake and Josh. I like them, but they're like guilty pleasure movies. They probably aren't as good with a look back, but you'd have to know more about Fairly Odd Parents.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
So we won't go on that tangent. But
we're going to do Fairly Odd Parents at some point.
Yeah, it would be cool. Yeah, to maybe see a live action Rugrats. I think someone has done it as a fan film.
Right.
Because I've definitely seen someone dressed up as an older Chucky, and it's probably best that we stick to the animation. I think especially if you're going to do a spin-off, like to do a spin-off and a sort of live action, like it's like a step too far.
It just felt because it was the school setting with the strong learning morals and kids becoming grown-ups, that it felt like a lot of the live action stuff that you've shown me before.
It also shows though that animation can do as much, if not more, than live action. Because I think there are more shows that are like this, that are like, you know, your schools but animated this time around or whatever.
I mean, if you'd just done All Grown Up, I think it would have been something that we could have looked at putting in the top 5, my top 5, but we didn't really do much of a look at it. We only watched the pilot, which was fun, but just not quite right for me. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it.
I think we didn't see enough of it as well. Like it was a solid. It was a very solid start, but you'd want to see You'd probably want to see the best from it. And to be fair, as pilots go, that's probably one of the best pilots we've seen, in my opinion, because a lot of the pilots is sort of like, oh, okay, yeah, you're finding your footing. And it was very interesting because I've revisited Drake and Josh since we did it on the pod, and you can tell that the pilot was shot way before the rest of it was picked up, because they got their foundations together. And I'll be interested to see if there's more shows we watch that are like that. I feel Disney were less like that, because when Disney do a project,
they just greenlight
they get it, because it's, you know, it was Disney Channel, it was made for their channel, whereas Nickelodeon were like taking suggestions from people and stuff like that. There's a very interesting Fairly Odd Parents story, actually. Like their first episode was on this cartoon sort of showcase show, and then it became a series, like some others have done that. So a lot of Nickelodeon stuff does feel like it was piloted, then there's a couple of months and a bit goes by, and then you see it. So
from what you said, Drake and Josh is probably something that I would dislike less once I saw some episodes that were less unpleasant than the pilot. So I think maybe we did the dirty on Drake and Josh with what we picked.
There's a lot, like, again, like, it's just the thing we have with the show is, like, we do like to do pilots because that is supposed to be a good indication of, it would have been what the executives see, it would have what you know, if you were deciding if you're deciding to watch a show, you do watch the pilot first.
It does seem like a fair way of looking at it, even if pilots are generally considered to be weak.
Yeah.
And that's not just for kids telly, it's like most pilots tend to be. But
I think we do help by watching the best episode as well. Like, it does help. And then there's shows where, like, the best episode is the pilot. Or, like, okay, when your best episode's your pilot, we got to think, what are you doing there? Maybe Pete.
Yeah. I don't have much more to say about All Grown Up other than I knew that Chucky was going to get braces. I could have predicted that before you put it on.
Of course, naturally.
I
do
like Chucky.
I was very pleasantly surprised that there was more theme song than what I remember, because I remember the all grown up, I really want to shout, and I knew the like 30 seconds of it, but there was a whole bit before where I was like, oh, I don't remember this part of it, and now I'm think that's going to be in my new like shower thing, is I'm going to listen to more All Grown Up.
For fuck's sake.
The full theme song and try and know it all.
Punkier than
catchy,
I'd have expected. It was it was quite punky.
It wasn't. No,
it wasn't.
I will say this about Rugrats: one of the catchiest theme songs. Like, I think obviously we both grew up with it, but we both knew it, recognised it, and I feel like even if you hadn't seen the show, you know the theme song from it. Yeah, and I think it's probably the most iconic theme song for both of us out of all the ones we've done so far.
It's the only one
apart from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but that's a
good point. Yeah. It's the second one we both knew.
Yeah. I literally, as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I was like, shut up, Fraser. We did a whole month of Teenage Mutant, which is,
you're right.
Which is one of the...
You're right.
But yeah, up there, definitely.
Very iconic theme, you're right.
Iconic. So, we're moving on to video games now, which is a first for this podcast, and I have to say, very much enjoyed, before we get into too much, very much enjoyed playing video games with you.
Oh, I did.
And thought it was some of our reactions were hilarious at our failures and our successes.
Don't.
And I do want to throw up the possibility of, to the many fan, and maybe like the We Made This network, of I feel like we should do something with video games because I had fun with it, and I had so much. There was times I was bursting out with laughter with your reactions, and I think you were the same with me.
It's because I'm terrible at video games and you're good.
No, I don't know. I get very anxious with stuff as well, so I think there was some humour in that. But there was a thing in this where it was very, very simple. I went, oh yes, thank you. I went, oh thank you, Chucky, I love you, or something, and it just creased you or something. But
we looked at
maybe like a 24-hour charity thing where we just play around with kids thing, because then it feels like we're doing a noble thing as well.
Maybe not. Maybe I don't want.
Let us know.
I don't want to go on Twitch. I don't want people to see how bad at video games I am.
I just think for the humour and stuff like that, and I don't know, for some of the games we can get suggestions and help.
You did say it would have been fun to record us playing the game, and that's what Twitch is, right? Yeah, so
I guess.
I don't know, maybe
we made this thing could,
So we took it in turns to play the game, and so while you were playing your bit, I did some research on the first game we looked at. Search for Reptar on the PS1.
Iconic.
Released in 1998, so the game we're playing was 24 years old.
Nice.
It was the 66th best-selling game on the PlayStation 1 system.
Of all time?
Yep. It outsold Grand Theft Auto.
Wow.
Not all of them, but most of the Madden games. And Tomb Raider Chronicles. It also outsold.
Well, I knew that I bought this twice, because I bought it as a child, and then I had nostalgia when I was in high school, maybe, and I bought it again. I then must have found the original, because when I opened it up today, there was 2 discs in there that were both Search Reptar. One looked a bit more scratched up than the other one. So yeah, I bought 2 versions of both these games that we did, so that makes sense. And yeah, go Rugrats.
Search for Reptar started with the Rugrats theme in a kind of plinky-plonky, weird chiptune version, which was fine.
And then creeped you the hell out.
Oh, but the problem was, it wasn't the music. It was the graphics. Yeah. The graphics were the stuff of nightmares.
I was prepared for this because I remember the graphics not being that great. And I remember that this was a PlayStation 1 game, despite us playing it on the PlayStation 2. Just shout out for the PlayStation 2, by the way. The fact that you can play PlayStation 1 games on PlayStation 2. Bravo.
PlayStation 2 was most people's first DVD player as well.
Yeah, I feel like the PlayStation 2 is... PlayStation peaks there. PlayStation 3, great, yeah. Online, whatever. But, can you play PS2 or PS1 games on there? Discs? No. PS4? Yeah, great. Spider-Man games, amazing. But PS2, you got Spider-Man games on there as well. And you can play, PS5.
I had a PS2 and a PS4. I didn't bother with a PS3.
No.
Didn't bother with it.
No, PS2.
PS2, classic.
Creme de la creme.
Classic. Nice size as well, compared to the monster that is the PS5.
Well, mine we've got a slim there, which is good. I did I did have an original thick boy, but...
So beyond the stuff of nightmares that was the graphics, that were the horrible kind of weird, clunky, bad shapes, 3D...
Yeah. Think Tomb Raider as well, original Tomb Raider was
yeah. But beyond that, they had all the original voice actors.
Which was
That's good. Yeah. That shows commitment.
For both video games. And when we go into the second video games, I'm very surprised that they came back for it.
The problem with it, and the games I was playing at the time weren't Rugrats. I was playing stuff like the South Park game on the N64 at this time.
I played that South Park game, actually.
In the South Park game, you picked a character for the group mode where you were playing against each other. It was like GoldenEye, but not as good, but themed like South Park. And they all had 2 catchphrases. And so every time they get hit, they said the same thing. Like, for example, Mr. Mackey was, hitting is bad, okay, whenever you hit him.
Yeah.
Funny the first time, funny the second time, slightly funny the third time.
Irritating
onwards, the fourth time, and then just irritating. And this game suffered with that.
Yeah.
Every time Tommy, for example, would walk around the toy shop, every time you walked into a different room, it would be, look at this stuff. And again, cute, character-wise, it fitted, but the 10th, 12th, 100th look at this stuff, I just wanted to pull my ears off.
You know, there were moments where I deliberately took longer because I had a feeling that was the
It was driving me crazy. I know.
And that brought me great joy. Look at this stuff.
It did not bring me great joy.
But Mark,
and now you said it, I now realise you did it deliberately and you're a shithead.
Look at this stuff.
I know, he did like to look at this stuff.
He did. There was some good stuff in there.
There was. It was basically a puzzle game, a number of different puzzle mini games.
You found like different games and some varied in difficulty. They said easy, medium or hard on them, but I feel like I'm saying definitely more Mark, struggled with the easier ones.
But I was fine with the hard ones.
But I think it meant easy as in like the task, like what you needed to know was easy. Like, because the easy ones were like, you just have to get eggs, or you just have to beat Angelica in a race. But the hard ones were like, okay, you're going to have to do different puzzle games. But we found them easy because it was like, oh, we just need to think of this. We don't need to be faster than Angelica, which proved to be very difficult.
It was an odd experience. I would never say I was a good video gamer. I would not really say I'm a modern video gamer. I'd go as far as saying I'm a retro video gamer.
Yeah.
But because it was a 3D walk-around style game, I'm used to modern controls where you can control the camera and you use the thumbstick rather than the X-pad.
Yeah.
It was...
Well, this was a game... This game was invented before there was the analog stick. So it was more lenient towards the arrows. And we bumped our heads quite a lot as a baby. And
we walked into the wall a lot.
Yeah, and I coined the phrase of... I think it was like... Sometimes you got to walk your head in some walls to get some Easter eggs.
It was just...
And I was like, it's okay. This is how babies learn. This is how I probably learned as a baby. It would make so much sense.
Yeah, it was really clunky. And the camera angles were desperately frustrating that you couldn't adjust them. And I realised that's looking at it from a modern point of view. But still... I
came to realise you had to be patient with it. Because if you did wait long enough, the camera would turn with you. But if you were like on a time thing, you weren't worth the patience. And I managed to work out, because we did this, a lot of the games were very similar. Like there was an Easter egg hunt where you had to find all the Easter eggs, and there was one where like you had to find the room, smash the box, and then find all the balloons, and similar one with the coins. And I worked out, okay, so usually when you go around this, you would go a certain direction, then you turn your camera. But in order to do it the best way, you needed to go around almost in a square, so you never really had to turn your camera around and stuff like that. Be easy to obviously show you on screen, but like if you sort of get what I managed to work out the way to do it in this way. And I think your difficulty with that was you never found that method. It was always, no, I'm just used to like this.
I do feel that even for the time, this was a PS1 game, which is a contemporary of the SNES, the PS1.
Yeah.
And there was an example of courses where you were chasing someone or you'd be going round and mazes and stuff. Super Mario Kart in 1993 told you when you were going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Other video games had arrows for the direction you should be going at before this game came out. So that I don't feel it's wrong to criticise it about that.
I think part of the task though was supposed to be like, because there are games that are very helpful to you who will give you directions, but I think this one was one like, oh no, you're supposed to get lost. And so, like, obviously one of them was a maze. Like, you are supposed to get lost in this, or you are supposed to be working your way around.
Essentially the hurdles run with the dog. That should have told you if you go in the wrong direction.
I mean,
and it didn't.
I mean, yes and no. Like, that's part of that. I think that's part of the thing. And like, I think it was also trusting that you were just going to go straight on.
Meh. And this was odd when it came to collision detection. It was generous when it came to the baddies, when you were running away from a giant gorilla.
You could go right next to him.
Yeah. But then if you hit a wall, it not only hit the wall before you got to the wall, but it also staggered you and fucked the controls.
Yeah.
That was desperately frustrating. Yeah. So it was quite forgiving most of the time, and then unnecessarily savage in other parts where it was... Holy crap, that was harsh.
Oh, some of the jumping in it as well did not make it easy.
No.
When I worked out you could do a big jump, I was like, oh, that's good. And then I was like, oh, that's too big of a jump, or like how's he gone sideways? And yeah, it was interesting.
It was very sweet in a lot of ways. The plot lines were kind of simple but made sense and fit the brand.
I actually knew every mini game, and as soon as we hovered over it, because we would hover over and it'd say the name and go, I know what that's going to be. And I was like, I went past the mirror and I know there's a mirror one, and it was a bonus one, and I was like, oh. And yeah, all the games we did, I was like, I remember these. Same with the one we're going to talk about next as well. I was like, I remember all these games, and this is...
Yeah.
I mean, for some of the games it didn't help me. For others it definitely did, and it was nice. And this is the first time I actually completed Search for Reptar, because I think as a kid I just didn't, but I wish I stuck with it, because it was, it could have been done in a day.
Yeah, we completed it together, and it was a gentle game when it came to how easy it was to complete it. There was some moments of real difficulty.
We completed it halfway through a mini game, so we didn't even play all the mini games, and there was a mini game that we gave up on.
Yeah, so there were different ways to win.
Which was good.
You had to complete 12 tasks in 12 different ways, and there were more than 12 tasks.
You had to get 12 puzzle pieces, but you'd also get a puzzle piece for collecting like Reptar bars.
Hidden bars, yeah.
Yeah, so it was very cool. It was like the Arkham games does it with, the Riddler cards, where like you can collect them and you get an extra little bonus thing, but sometimes, you get a bit too obsessed with that. Whereas like with this, it's like, oh, this is one way you could do it, but you can also do it this way. So it was nice to give options, and it wasn't, oh, you have to do both.
Yeah,
like you can do either.
So like I say, quite forgiving. You didn't have to do every single mini game, which is good, because one of them drove me crazy.
Yeah, and I do love like every mini game. I was like, oh, this is cute, and again, it fit the theming of the show perfect. It's like the character moments were still in it. Like there was Chucky was scared. There was a mission where you had to go and find Tommy in a scary store, which of course I had to get, and I was on edge the whole time. I talked about before the pod, I was like, the goose one appeared again, and I knew every stage it was going to happen. I was
the goose was quite scary.
As soon as we were at the park, I was like, oh yeah, Grandpa takes his teeth out, Spike gets his teeth out, and you're like, oh, Spike looks creepy with his teeth out. It gets creepier, the goose gets him, the goose got him, and then you have to hit,
Spike looked unintentionally creepy with the teeth. He was supposed to look weird, but because the graphics were so poor, it really looked like something out of a horror film. But I don't know whether people at the time would have felt as wigged out as I did. I don't think that's fair.
Goose was... it was horrifying.
You talked about the Reptar bars, and you then vaguely talked to me about merchandise.
Reptar bars, and there was also a mission where you had to get Reptar cereal. So both were available. You were able to get, at one time, a Reptar bar and Reptar cereal.
Did you ever have them?
The whole thing of the TV... No, the whole thing of the TV... They were available in America.
Oh,
the whole thing of the TV show was... with the Reptar bars, was it turned your tongue green, and I can't remember when the bars came out if they did turn your tongue green or if the internet complained because their tongue didn't turn green. But
either way, someone would have complained.
They were available, and so was the cereal, and I was like, oh, that would be set. That's the one thing I want to try. Like, I'd love to open the cereal box and get a Reptar. Like,
they'd be a bit mingy now.
If you got a day. Oh no, definitely. But
I did look up weird merch for Rugrats while you were playing.
Oh yeah.
Would you like to know the weirdest thing I found?
Oh, go on.
Rugrats Monopoly.
Oh, I'd love that.
Rugrats Monopoly.
That'd be brilliant. Instead of like all the different towns, you've got like you can buy a Reptar thing or that's cool.
Rugrats Monopoly.
Cynthia's little mall or whatever.
Yeah, exactly that. There you go.
Honestly, like we're talking about this and stuff like that, and you'd think after nearly 10 hours of Rugrats in our lives, you'd want to take
11 and a quarter hours now that we've been recording that long.
Absolutely adoring it even more. And
I've had a nice day, but I'm not going to want any more Rugrats for a while, I don't think.
I tell you what, that PlayStation 2 might be staying around. Like, I might not hide it anymore. I might be on the search for more Rugrats games, or more games from my childhood as well.
I had the Buzzers and the Guitar Hero for PlayStation 2.
I thought you were going to say Buzz Lightyear game. I was like, don't, because
I didn't.
I'm on that with the Buddy Buzz Lightyear cartoons.
You remember Buzz, where you had the buzzers?
Yeah.
PlayStation 2, mate.
It's good. I'm telling you, it's the pinnacle.
Yeah.
The pinnacle.
Yeah.
And these two games are definitely the pinnacle of Rugrats games.
Should we move on to talk about Totally Angelica?
Of course.
So Totally Angelica had much better graphics. I was not wigged out. I didn't think it was creepy.
This came
or the stuff of nightmares.
This came after, obviously, like Rugrats in Paris, because Kimmy was in this.
Still PS1 though.
Still PS1, yeah. PS1 went for a long time, and so did PS2. Again, another shine of their quality. They lasted much longer than PS3 and PS4.
True that.
And probably will outlast PS5. So.
Totally Angelica was, in a lot of ways, more limited than Search for Reptar, I thought.
I was convinced it had more variety than this, but it didn't. So we didn't complete this time because it got later clock in.
Fuck that shit.
There was so much repetitive. So there's 6 levels, and there's supposed to be 3 games a level, but
there's only 9
mini games. So you get 3 in level 1, 3 in level 2, and 3 in level 3. And then those 3 are sort of jumbled up in the next 3 levels, and you can earn different things. So you can earn makeup, you can earn shoes and accessories, and you go to a fashion show. Because the whole thing is, it starts off, I forgot about this mini scene, where Angelica's got a Cynthia doll fashion show, and she's trying to open it, and she jumps on it and breaks on it, you know, like a spoiled little child she can be. And she goes, "Oh, stupid mailman, break it," which I was like, oh, nice. Like, it's, again, feeds into the delusion of the character. And again, the TV shows references the characters.
Yeah, they got the vibe of the show right. I won't deny that.
And again, the voice actors came back for this, which was bizarre for me. So she decides in her own imagination to make her own mall and stuff like that, and her own fashion show. So a big part of this is you play the mini games, you get the accessories, then you go to a fashion show, and you try and build up points to go up the level. We got up to level 3, and because, you know, to play all the mini games. And these mini games, man, some of them were great, and a lot of them were quite easy, but a lot of them were like unnecessarily difficult.
Not just unnecessarily difficult, really mean-spirited.
Really frustrating as well.
Frustrating
for a Mark.
Frustrating and mean-spirited.
Honestly, listeners, seeing
temper.
Mark's reactions was gold, temper. And it honestly makes me want us to record more.
Right, so...
And it would be fun as well, because the audience could help us pick outfits as well.
They could. Oh, fuck this. We're not playing this on Twitch. Do you even have a Twitch channel? Because I don't.
I would make one just to see people see your reaction.
Totally Angelica.
Yeah, and because this is a game you were like, oh yeah, let's play it. And well, let's get your opinion on it.
So, Search for Reptar, I was like, all right, let's play it. Totally Angelica, you described it, and I was like, this sounds fun, the fashion show and all that shit. But within seconds, I was like, I hate this. I really hate this. The minigames, even though they were less clunky, felt more mean-spirited.
Yeah.
Or...
ridiculously easy.
Like, insanely simple. One of them was like...
a spring game where, like, the ball comes in.
Liked that.
Yeah.
I liked
There was a colour-coordinated game where I got so happy with Chucky that he gave me an easy one. So he gave you, like, 4 colours. And I was like, oh no, memory test. Like, as a dyslexic, I was proper worried. It was like, again, quite educational, to be fair. But mine was green. And
right.
And then I went, I fucking love you, Chucky.
It was fucking ludicrous. I got like green, red, blue, red, which, you know, is hardly difficult. But then you got green.
Oh, I was
like,
so
what
happy.
The actual
it's like
fuck?
It's like the PlayStation now. Oh, no, this one's... let's make it easy for him. He's sweating a bit. And then there was Grandma's Footsteps, but with Grandpa. And you were Tommy in the box. It was hide and seek. It was called hide and seek, but it reminded me of the children's game.
That bloody frog catch.
That frog catcher was hilarious. So the frog, it's a fill-in little game naturally because it's frog catcher, but the frogs jump out and you're supposed to catch him, which seems an easy task at first.
It was
just
not
press
easy.
the X button.
I did not like it.
But sometimes the frogs would do a double jump, or sometimes like you'd slightly mistime it, and Mark failed it with 2.5 times, because after the halfway through the third one, you gave it to me. And I was like, okay. I failed once, to be fair, and you were like,
rage quit. Totally Angelica.
I failed once, and you were like, oh, vindication. Then past the second time, you're like, let's just move on. You did go back to and complete it though, which did make us feel a bit better.
We did both eventually have a go and complete each one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was another one with Phil and Lil called Bug Catch, which just took the longest time. It wasn't difficult. It was just really time consuming.
Literally dug up every like vegetable or plant, and then some might have had a bug in. Apparently 43 had a bug in, but you only need to get 7, thank goodness. No, 50 had a bug in, and you only need to get 7, fortunately.
But it just took such a long time. And there was one where you had to match left and right.
Oh, I loved Kimmy's.
And that was
It
was so simple.
It was like a left and a but sometimes you would do double.
I thought it was going to be...
I did want to point out, yours had them doing double, but they must have gone really easy on me because I never had to do the double one. I only had to do right or left.
When it came up with the description of the game, I was like, okay, this is going to be a rhythm game. That's cool.
It
wasn't rhythm.
It was
just L or R.
Yeah, the instructions as well were done by the character. And it was very cute because sometimes it'd be written different than what they were saying.
Yeah.
So sometimes Tommy would read it out and he goes, oh, what was it? It was like he'd say Tommy and go, that's me. And I'm like, oh, Tommy, you're so cute. Or like,
I think that was probably ad-libbed by the actors.
Yeah, there was more difficult like words on there. Like I think it said directional buttons, and he said the arrow buttons, and I'm like, that makes sense. So like, if you can't read, you can hear Tommy, you know that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you would skip over some of the characters, and I'd be like, oh, give them their full time.
I did skip over.
Rude. Those poor voice actors, and those actual characters.
Yeah, but even though this was much later on and had much better graphics and was a lot more slick than Search for Reptar, this felt like it was for even younger kids.
Yeah, I think it definitely was. I would quite happily put that, like, the schools where I was working with, like, really young kids, like Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, I think they would be very happy with this. And it's like, it's one of them where, like, I was going to say it's difficult to fail one of them, but it's not.
It's difficult to fail the easy ones,
but they're easy tasks to sort of understand and gauge.
Yeah.
We did miss. I want to go back to this because it was one of my favourite things. So at the end of Search for Reptar, you enter this mission called Reptar 2010, which they thought was like massively in the future, and us playing it now was like, oh wow, this is like a weird midpoint.
It was only 12 years in the future,
but it was a great. And it was nearly 12 years. We were like perfectly. It was perfectly in the middle.
True.
And that's that.
True.
But you just destroyed the whole town as Reptar. I was like, this is brilliant.
It was a bit like Rampage.
Yeah.
Which I like as a game.
And then you just found brilliant.
It was almost because there was no challenge. You just smashed shit. You didn't have anything to do other than walk through the town and smash whatever the fuck you wanted. It was almost like a playable end credits, which is quite as a concept. For 1998, that's quite clever.
Very clever, yeah.
But I feel like we've got more to say about Search for Reptar because it was plot based.
I think it was.
Whereas Angelica wasn't.
It was the first of its kind as well. Like by Angelica's time, like you could see on the booklet that you get with the game, they had a in Paris game. They had another one which was a studio tour. So like Search for Reptar got them the money to do more games. And this one, again, it's just like, it's a little fun thing. Like, it reminded me very much that PlayStation were doing games where it's like fun for everyone and like you can just enjoy it. Because we talk about Buzz, we talk about Guitar Hero. They were very much gather around the sofa and all play together. And I think this is what this would be. Whereas, like, other games that you sort of play, you would just sort of, it's just you in your room. Whereas this was like communal or whatever, or like you can have friends round to play it. And I think I did have friends round and like, to play these games. And when I first completed Rugrats Search for Angelica, me and my sister did play it together.
That's quite sweet.
We also played Spider-Man Friend or Foe.
Both of these games worked well as a taking it in turns to do stuff because it was nicely broken up. They both worked really well for that, actually.
Definitely. And if you listen to this and I do invite you around, then yes, you will definitely be playing both.
For fuck's sake.
I love it. I definitely feel like I'm going to play more. We picked some terrible outfits, but then there was other times where I was very proud of us. I was getting in the zone.
It was random what shit you could get. You just won a prize, and it was either something good or something you got. We got lots of leggings, didn't we?
Because the way to master the game is to play these mini games multiple times.
Far too many times.
When you think about it, you have to play the mini game on one level. I'd say minimum 4 times to get all the outfits, but then you are going to play that mini game again on another level. So the mini game's done on 2 different levels. So you're playing the mini game at minimum 8 times. You've got to really enjoy that mini game.
Much more repetitive than Reptar.
Or have 8 people around to play that.
True.
Because I think it helps that the 2 of us, like, we would both do a mini game and get.
I think we'd struggle to find 6 other people that fancied a evening in with no alcohol.
I don't know.
And playing Angelica's Mall or whatever it was called.
It could be funny. Totally Angelica. Don't pretend.
Sorry.
Totally Angelica.
Totally Angelica.
I do love. Tommy was doing the little voice thing for like, and he did like little jokes that like, if you're not party trained, you get in for free or whatever, or like, we don't accept money here. You earn stuff by playing games. I was like, that's my kind of mall.
Yeah.
Go to a shop, and I will say as well, don't go to a mall or a shopping centre with Mark, because he'll try to go up the lift and will enter a store.
I did go in the wrong area at one point.
Which
Fuck's sake, Fraser. I didn't want you to tell people that I got confused on Angelica's Mall.
It's a difficult game. As your time with Phil and Will proved.
Me.
So we have mentioned, all the chat's done now, we've delved into the 5 very well. And I'm glad that we've done 5, because we usually do top 5s, and I think now would be a good time to sort of do another top 5, but a different top 5, and you to sort of rank these 5 things we've watched, digested,
okay,
and do a top 5 of your own for
top
them.
5 of the 5 things we've done.
Yeah.
So in 5th, it's Angelica's Mall.
That's no surprise.
Because it drove me crazy.
No surprise there. Didn't help we were tired towards that part as well. Those parts where I was like, oh.
I don't think that's fair. I just...
Yeah.
All Grown Up was probably in 4th. It was fine, and it was something that I'm glad I saw because it was something I'd wanted to see, and it was fine. Then probably Search for Reptar.
Yeah.
And then probably equally the film and the episode. They're both...
but if you've got to do a 2 and a 1.
Probably the film in 2nd and the episode in 1st. I felt like it was a tighter study in grief and single parents.
And you don't get a lot of the impact from the movie does come from that episode as well. I feel like,
How about you?
I wouldn't want to do it, because usually we do a top 5 for someone who it's not their childhood. Whereas
you got to do
all of this.
You made me do it.
No, because all of this was my childhood, so. We never do that.
Cop out.
Yeah.
Cop out. All right. Yeah. This does count as a Fraser episode then.
Yeah, because if we're counting it as my episode, I was like, maybe one day you'll get me to do a top 5 of it, but like I'd say, there'd be too much, I think, nostalgia involved in there. And the thing is, I've got nostalgia for all of this.
True.
But I will say, with respect to All Grown Up, because it was better than I thought. Because again, I've got that spin-off sequelitis thing where I'm like, oh, it's never really as good, or like it's not as well remembered as the original, how come? But maybe it should be. And I don't know, you did have a little thing of like, oh, I don't know, this doesn't look right when you first see it. And I guess that sort of did probably mark people off as like, oh, it's weird seeing them actually grown up. And I guess as well it would make you feel older.
True.
If you would
True.
know they're babies, but now, wait, does that mean I'm not young anymore? Or
yeah, you're bothered by that more than me. Whatever. These days I've been through that.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't know actually. I'm not as bothered. I do know some people that like it does sort of gauge them, but then I just do the philosophy of but I'm not a grown up. Peter Pan.
So Fraser, do you want to know what we're doing next time on Right in the Childhood?
It's definitely not Rugrats.
It's not. We've exhausted Rugrats. I've picked something that, because you picked Rugrats and All Grown Up as something that you knew I would like, I have done the same. I have picked something that I'm pretty sure is going to be a Fraser-friendly show.
I think it's going to be top of my list.
Maybe. Well, you are obsessed with Spider-Man.
Okay.
And I've picked Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Oh, not the 90s one?
No, before that. It was an 80s one.
It was the 80s, because there was two. This is very sad, I already sort of know it. There was 2, weren't there, from the same time? Because there was 2, I think, was this 1982?
Oh, I don't know. It was definitely 80s.
So there was 2 of them that came out at the same time. This one and another one that lasted a season, but this lasted more. Oh yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this. I think this might be number 1.
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends is really, really interesting.
Also, touche to you, because it'd be good timing for Far From Home.
Will it? Okay, not deliberate. Look at that. I wish it was.
Go us.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to return the favour then. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Yeah, I'm going to predict it now. It's probably going in number 1.
Don't do that.
It feels unfair to say that but it's Spider-Man, isn't it? It's going to be. It's probably going to be a permanent number 1 unless you say, oh yeah, I also grew up with this other Spider-Man show. Yeah. Oh, Boy Meets World didn't last long at the top then, did it?
Well, who knows? Well, that's it for the gigantic Reptar-sized special.
We did warn you at the beginning of the show. It's a huge one, and
Reptar-sized.
We wish we could say it was sponsored by the Reptar cereal and Reptar bar, but mind you, I guess because they're not in sale, we could say it is.
So we'd be advertising something that hasn't been produced for years for no money.
Yeah, sounds like us.
Thank you for listening to Right in the Childhood. We'll see you next time for Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Whip. Right in the Childhood is a podcast brought to you by the We Made This Podcast Network. You can follow the show on Twitter at RITCpod. The show's creators and hosts are Fraser Summers and Mark Adams. Follow us on Instagram at SpiderPanInsta and at MarkAdamsHC. The show's logo was created by Carl Bryant, and the theme tune was composed by Colin Jackson Brown. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the hit.
Hello everyone, this is Tony, Network Chief of We Made This. As you know, our podcast network brings together a brilliant assortment of talent who talk about all kinds of pop culture content, such as the episode you just listened to. We're not going anywhere, but we'd love to keep the lights on for even longer if you're able to support our network on Patreon. For just £2 a month, you get your name in lights and the satisfaction of knowing you're helping us produce more great audio. And for £3 a month, you'll get your name in lights, but you'll also get access to an exclusive bi-monthly podcast from the We Made This talent pool on podcasting, pop culture, and, well, you tell us. We'll take your suggestions. For less than the price of a coffee per month, you can help keep We Made This going. Just head to patreon.com/We Made This. That's patreon.com/We Made This. And get the ball rolling. Elsewhere on We Made This. Chucky Vision.
I've been on some Chucky forums, and there is a lot of hate about Chucky being woke, having a homosexual agenda, how it's ruined the franchise by making it too gay. And I'm like, really? How can you possibly suggest that it's ruined the franchise by being too gay when Seed of Chucky is a thing?
And even if people, like, I know some people, like, I mean, Seed of Chucky is quite a debatable film, but, like, even Bride is very camp. People should have known the sensibilities of this franchise ages ago.
Free with this month's issue.
The editor, Mark Sutherland, who's a cunt.
A notorious man.
Yeah, he's the man that ran the magazine into the ground. He opens the issue with a really fucking cringy editor's letter.
Oh yeah, he does.
Which says, for the first 8 months of the year, the alternative nation was depressed. UK garage and pop shite was ruling the charts, and our music was being pushed off the airwaves and common room stereos across the land.
Oh, Jesus.
Now, I looked into the alternative music scene of the first 8 months of 2000. Already released that year, there had been Primal Scream's Exterminator, Blood Flowers by The Cure, Suicide Pact You First by Therapy.
Movie-versaries.
The highest grossing film in the case of Avatar. I don't think anybody ever considers it popular, but everybody saw it, which is really weird. It's this strange case of this film that made so much money, pushed special effects forward so much, and it isn't based on any intellectual property. Not directly anyway, but it has zero cultural footprint. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah, apart from the whole visual thing, right? Like it's impossibly mediocre. It is so middle of the road. It's not even bad enough to be spoken about.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.